Okay, cool. Okay. Hi. Um, First of all, that was like the sweetest welcome ever. And I just slightly went and stalked your page because I realized like we weren't following each other on Instagram. So I was like going through your page and I'm seeing all of this fun stuff that's happening right now with baby, the IVF transfer and all of that. It's so exciting. So this is like the perfect time. I feel like this is perfect. Um, but yeah, I think what she said is perfect in that if this is maybe not like, oh, I'm not having a baby or I'm not going through pregnancy, there are definitely life moments that get hard and make it hard for us to feel like we can share our business. And when our business is on social media and we are going through other things, it makes it hard because you feel constantly like, how do I share this genuinely when I'm also going through some things? And so hopefully by the end of this, you'll feel a little more comfortable with that. So I am going to share some slides just because I tend to not stay on track if I'm not. So I'm going to be a little all over the place, but I think that I'll have a message in the end that will resonate. That's just kind of how I work. But for those of you who aren't familiar, I've been in this business for this is going to make me like a grandma, but in this business, but 8 years next month. So that's wild to me because I remember being like, okay, we'll see if I'm in network marketing for like 6 months. That'd be cool if I did this for like 6 months. And then it would be like, oh, I wonder if we could do this for like a year. And it just has been this incredible blessing every single year. And this was last year was our best year yet. So for anyone who ever says like, well, if you get in early, that's the only way that you can succeed. We have like 20 something premier and elite coaches in the downline. It is so possible. And they are thriving right now and they are the newer ish ones. So I'm just like the one here clapping for all of them. I was a teacher prior to coaching and elementary was like anxiety ridden. So anybody that ever deals with that, I'm so in that with you. Anxiety and depression has been something that I've kind of been in and out of my entire life, but it really like hit when I found out that I was pregnant. And then the thought of having to leave my baby to go essentially be with like 25 other babies during the day was hard for me. And so that was when I had a really big conversation with my husband. And this was before coaching even existed. And we just decided, for the love of God, Nikki, like you need to just, your anxiety, we're going to figure it out. You'll stay home and we'll figure it out. That was like kind of what we decided on. And the idea was like, I'll substitute teach and then eventually go back. And 6 months postpartum, in walks an inbox message from my coach, Stephanie Chico. And she was like, hey, do you want to try a challenge group? And I had no idea what that was. World's worst challenger. So I bought my program off eBay. I don't know if that's even a thing anymore. And then I didn't need the supplements because those are too expensive, of course. So I was the worst. And she still let me in. And I ended up actually being a really great challenger. I just never purchased product from her. But I did lose a lot of weight. I was always dialed in. I was always commenting, and I got a transformation that I was so proud of that I started to like naturally share it on social media. So she asked me to coach several times. And the third time I said, well, let me just chat with my husband because the 30 or the 25% discount on the products was what I needed at the time. That was something that was like with us taking my income away, it was something I needed. So we looked into that, and my husband was like, Nikki, you have seen other people succeed. Like, we're not going half on this. Like, just try it, give it 6 months, go all in the way that they have, listen to what they say and see what happens. And I did. And in the meantime, I was substitute teaching and trying to, substitute teaching. And I was pumping at break, like in this little tiny closet room, and then going home to my daughter, and I was exhausted and just all the things. So I was really in a place of like, how do I make this work? And I did a lot. And I will talk to you about like when I worked my business and all of those things in just a second. But and about 6 months in was the first time I had a paycheck that equaled that of my teaching paycheck. And that was when we were like, okay, this is a thing. This is like legit. And how do we make that happen all the time? And that's kind of like where my head went from there. It was just like, okay, like blinders on, head down. What do I got to do to make this my full-time gig? And that's what we did. And from then on out, we've been an elite team, and the rest is history. So I'm going to start these slides so that I can stay on track, but that's just a little backstory. We have 3 babies now, 8, almost 5, and almost 2. Just to give you a little background on where we're at in this chaos. Okay, so I didn't even pull, I'm just like keeping it on the Canva because I feel like you guys can see it like this, yeah? Okay, cool. So when Courtney and I chatted, she was like, hey, I want to talk like all things how you're doing this going through pregnancies. And so I started kind of putting some slides together. And actually my mom was over visiting today, and she said, well, I said, I'm planning this call or whatever to speak tonight. It's not my call, it's someone else's. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? And I said, working my business while pregnant. And she was like, she looked at me and she's like, well, is it different? Like, how is it different? And it kind of was an aha moment just in that moment, because I was like, you know what, you're right. Like the more I thought about it, I was like, it's really not that different. And that's what I hope you guys can see out of this is while you're going through pregnancies, it is not going to be that different outside of your transformations looking very different. It wasn't a ton different. And so that's what I hope that you can get out of this, because what I get a lot is people telling me they sign up and then they say, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant now. So, and I just look at them and I say, so what? Congratulations. That's awesome. Now we have even more reason to hustle and get this business going, right? Like in my eyes, I think of it as like, okay, now I'm going to bust my butt because my dream is to be able to like work this business and be home. And that's not going to happen if I say, well, I'm pregnant, so I'm just going to wait, because that right there is what, almost 10 months out the door. And then you have a baby and your life overwhelms you and you're like, well, I'll just wait on that. Before you know it, you just keep waiting. And there's really never going to be that like perfect time. And so I think it's important for us to know that life is going to happen and we should be able to still work our business as those big life changes are happening to us. So my question is, who says that you can't crush the business in all stages of your life? Like what makes it so difficult that we tell ourselves that this isn't something that we can do while pregnant? And so 8 years and 2 Beachbody pregnancies later, the little munchkin in the middle in that picture, and then the one in my belly are the 2 Beachbody pregnancies. And I was someone who struggled getting pregnant. We did not go through IVF, but we did do fertility medication with 2 of the 3. And then that 3rd one was a bit of a surprise for us. But the best surprise, and we didn't think we could have surprises. So that was really cool. But my biggest takeaway for you guys is to realize, we understand fitness, health, nutrition. Those are hugely important all the time, right? Like, maybe not everyone preaches this, but I preach very often that this is a lifestyle, right? This is not something that like is going to change for me. This is something that I'm always going to do because it's going to be my life forever. And so even more so, I think people need to realize that that is the case going through pregnancy. I've been someone on both sides. I've had a pregnancy without taking health and nutrition into consideration. And then I've had 2 pregnancies where, health was my job. And so for me, I can tell you that it is so much more important to me now, knowing how important it was to have it through my pregnancies. And so when you think about getting pregnant, it should be exciting because now you have this entirely new market that you can speak to. You've been speaking to everyone else now, and now you have this little niche that is so needed. They need the information. There's so much misinformation about working out while you're pregnant, or, eating certain foods while you're pregnant, and all these things. And I personally wish that I had seen more people taking control of their health while pregnant through my first. And so it was really motivating for me to go through my second and third pregnancies and be able to follow accounts that said, hey, here's, I really loved this healthy snack. Or, I didn't want to work out today, but I did, or here's how you're going to feel in your second trimester, just things that like people I didn't know the first time around. And so you have this entirely new market. And while it is very small, you think market, the micro niche is really where everybody seems to find massive growth. And so this is who you're talking to right now. That's your people, that's your platform. And you speaking to those people is enough. So one of the things I kind of touched on was talking through things that new moms have questions about, or moms that maybe have had multiple pregnancies, but now they're trying to have a fit pregnancy. And just talking about questions that other new moms might have. So talk as if you were talking to yourself about situations in your pregnancy and health journey. So it was kind of fun while I was just pulling these slides together, because I was starting to go down memory lane and just looking through some of the old pregnancy stuff. And I will let you know, I'm not like the billboard for the pregnant fit girl, because I gained 50 pounds with all of my pregnancies. So I'm not someone that like, oh, she's just all belly. That is not me. And that's okay. That's because I love balance. And so I was not perfect during my pregnancy, but I showed people that. And so when I would talk on social media, I tried to talk as if I were talking to myself, and something that I would have wanted to hear as someone who's pregnant. And so in this one, I was just sharing, like, I was horrible in the first trimester. Like, I literally didn't cook anything. I ate all the carbs. I'm just excited to have some kind of energy again. And then I threw in the fact that this program is only 20 minutes long, and it's the only reason I was able to stay on track. So throwing that in there is just a breadcrumb, right? It's just a little piece of this little puzzle, but it's letting people know that I did work out, but it was 20 minutes. And that's why I did it. And in those moments where I don't have the energy, I'm sick and nauseous, then that 20-minute program is what I'm going to do. And that's the right program for me at the time. And a lot of other moms are thinking to themselves, I could do 20 minutes. Or yes, that's me right now, trying to cook and clean, like smelling raw meat, like all of it is me. And so I try to speak as if, they understand, they know. So I'm going to give it to them like raw and real. And then talking through, lots of people are asking if they could still work out while pregnant. The answer is yes. Obviously, at the end of all of these, I let people know, consult your physician. We are not trained in this area. Got to always throw that in there. But I think it's important for people to know that, my doctor told me if I was working out before pregnancy, this is something I can continue to do and should do throughout my pregnancy. And I talk a lot about how doing it now, I'm doing it for much different reasons than I was when I'm trying to get a physical transformation. So one of the other things that I like to do a lot was talk about sharing modifications and how I modified my lifestyle as far as my fitness lifestyle while I was pregnant. Shared, I'm still drinking the pre-workout. Obviously, my doctor said that was okay. Sharing the bump as it's growing, but talking about how I'm making modifications throughout programs was important, because I wanted people to know that they can continue to put their health first, and use certain products while they're pregnant. So I talked through right here, just saying that my workout obviously has nothing to do with a physical transformation at this point. And right now it has everything to do with just prepping myself for labor and delivery. So it looks different. Like, I personally love getting a physical transformation when I'm not pregnant, but I mean, like I said, I gained 50 pounds during all my pregnancies. So it just looks different for me. And then I let people know, like, did I do as much? Did I modify? Yes, but I'm really, really proud of myself for doing something. And then as you guys get through this, you're gonna find your groove. Like, you're gonna figure it out. You're gonna see like what people are really loving that you're sharing, just like with any part of your journey. Again, that goes back to what my mom was like, how is it different? It's not, it's just a different audience, and you're just speaking in a way that is relative to what you're doing, you know, what your body is going through at the time. The most important thing for me was to be honest with women about the postpartum journey. There is nothing more lonely, in my opinion, than the fourth trimester. And that is not something that a new mom usually knows. That is not something that they're expecting, because nobody wants to tell you that part. They just want to tell you how cute it is and the cuddliness and all that stuff. Some people don't go through that, I understand, but a lot do, and a lot feel really lonely in that moment. So I try to share the moments that I'm going through, especially going through it my third time around. You know, it's one time when you don't know how your body's going to react, and you're like, I'm never going to get, like, I'll never be fit again. And it's okay to want to be fit again, by the way, but it'll be different, you know. And so for me, knowing that my body was going to be a certain way, but it would change if I was consistent, and that my lifestyle and the things I had done during the pregnancy would pay off, and just embracing where I was at. Because a lot of women are seeing perfectly picture perfect angles, and women jumping back into their pre-pregnancy jeans and whatever, and that wasn't my story. And so I try to share the postpartum journey a lot, and the body. And in this one, I was just saying, like, instead of like being disgusted at ourselves, I mean, because that's the truth of what a lot of us go through. It's looking at like, look what I did. Like, look what we were able to create here. Like, look what you just did. And it's going to shift and change, and your body will change, believe it or not. And so for me, it was just embracing that and talking women through, like, this is powerful. Our bodies are strong. Like, my labor and delivery was good because of what I was doing in those 9 months prior. And I'm just going to soak up where I'm at right now. So this was like, this picture was, I was so tired. This is my naughty child, the third one. He doesn't do anything that my other children did. They got progressively worse as far as like sleeping, eating, behaving. So this is Sully, and I was like halfway through Morning Meltdown with Jericho when it first came out, and hadn't slept that night, and he was supposed to be napping, and he decided that he was hungry in the middle of the workout. So sharing those moments, like just being honest and saying, look, I got a lot going on. I could be doing a million other things, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know, like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so what I started to see in my inbox a lot was, how do I find time? I don't have any time. How do you have motivation? How do you not eat your kids' goldfish? How are you like pushing through when the scale doesn't move? Are you even able to meal prep? Like, I'm just grabbing fast food with my kids and all that stuff. And I truly had a sit down with myself and was like, look, I can make excuses all day, but at the end of the day, I need some time for myself, or I go crazy. I am not a good human if I don't have a little bit of time. And it is okay for women to fill up their cup for 30 minutes a day if all they're doing all the rest of the day is wiping butts and making meals and cleaning up and all the other things. Like, it is not selfish, ladies, to want goals and to want business goals and to want fitness goals outside of being a mom and a parent. And so I like to tackle, like, even when I'm not pregnant, just what people might be saying, kind of like, what do I think the naysayer is saying? And let me talk to that person. And so I just shared, like, here's what my inbox says. And so for me, it was like, no, I just make an appointment with myself. I don't cancel the appointment. So I'm going to feed him, and then I'm going to get to work. And so the rest of that, post was just me telling a story. And sometimes it's a short and sweet, but sometimes it's longer. And this one was longer because I was trying to answer questions that I was getting constantly in the inbox. Also, ladies, it's a way to save time. So you're not answering a million inbox questions that are all the same. When you have a new baby and you don't have the time to do that, you can tackle it all in one spot and refer them to that post so that they can see. And so for me, it was like, I'm not eating the best all the time or like cooking and meal prepping all the time, but I'm making better choices. I'm taking progress pictures, you know, because the scale doesn't move for me a lot, especially while nursing. And so for me, the progress pictures are important. The motivation, I don't have motivation all the time, but I always compare it to like, it's like brushing my teeth. It's just something I do every day. Like this isn't like a choice for me. It's like, no, you got to brush your teeth because that's gross. So like I'm going to work out because that's just something I want to do every single day. And I just make it a point to do it. And then do you want the results? And I do ask myself that a lot as someone who's going through a postpartum journey, and I'm working a business. Fitness is my business. And so it's important for me to be showing up in whatever way that looks like. Does it have to be every day? No, but I need to be honest in sharing with my followers like what I'm going through. And so I just kind of talk through what my nutrition is like and how I'm eating and all that sort of thing. And then sharing your progress consistently. That's something that is so important because so many people are going to be looking to you and they will look and watch you when you're postpartum, like next level accountability. I always tell people when they sign up to coach, like if they're like, well, I'm not at my fitness goals yet, the answer is always, well, this is just like an extra layer of accountability. This is perfect because now you're going to be held to another layer of just like holding yourself, like staying on track. And so that was like halfway through morning meltdown, and then just continuing to show up and like show the progress as we go through different stages of our fitness journey. Something else that I think is important for you guys to remember is that you should be trying new things. When I got, you know, a certain, I don't know how many months postpartum I was, this was our second baby, Willow. I was like, let's do the ultimate reset. And I've never done the ultimate reset before, scared me to death. But I was like, you know what? This is a perfect time to try to reach an audience that wasn't pregnant, but an audience that didn't necessarily want to work out. And there's a whole big audience for that. So that was something that was like, I should tackle this for my business and also just be aware of like, what is it when people come to ask? Because if you're not familiar with our products, we have so many. So if you've been staying in that same little realm of like, what's your comfortable products, I would encourage you guys to step outside and like change your HD to something else the next month, or, you know, just kind of swap it back and forth so that you can share with your audience. Because what works for one is going to be different for the next. So what someone may want a nutrient dense shake, but someone else may not want that. And so being able to show the performance line or the beach bars or, you know, our collagen, our bevy, like whatever is important. So I did things that I wouldn't normally do. And I tried our nutritional stuff. I was giving 2B Mindset a go and talking about how it was more intuitive eating versus the containers because I was nursing and I needed more food, and talking through those things. I will say, disclaimer, I did the ultimate reset while nursing, but it was like once my supply was established and I skipped certain supplements. So like I didn't do the detox. I talked to my doctor about just like what we could do in a way that was healthy. And I ate in the men's bracket. And so I shared all of these things going through this, and I would share the food. They have what's called an in a crunch plan for people who don't have time to like make all the meals. Didn't know that till I did the reset. And I was doing that all the time because I didn't have time necessarily. And it was like really easy to do those certain meals. And so that was gaining so much interest, you guys. They were seeing how big the bowls were of food, and they were seeing all of the stuff that I was eating when they thought this reset cleanse was going to be nothing, you know? So I opened their eyes to trying something, and I had a whole new market right there. They were not pregnant necessarily or breastfeeding or moms, but they just wanted something that was outside of fitness. So I was able to give them something different. So a question I get a lot from new parents is like, when and how do I work my business now? Like, what do I do now the baby's here? This is crazy. And I will say, give yourselves grace. Like, number one thing is to know, and I kind of put this out of order, but where I said the hustle and flow moments, when I knew I had a baby coming into the world, I knew life was going to get thrown upside down. I knew that the first 6 months postpartum was going to be a blur. And so I prepped myself in my business for that. And so as a business owner, you need to think ahead. You need to plan. If you are someone who is a business owner and you are headed on a overseas trip for a month vacation or whatever is happening, you are planning who is going to take over certain things while you're gone. You are planning, how does my life look different throughout all of this? And so for me, I hustle leading up to the delivery because I wanted to get certain things in my business accomplished before so that I could enjoy kind of like the fruits of the labor after, literally and figuratively. And when I was pregnant with this one, Willow, we actually went into superstar qualification, and people were like, you're crazy. There's so many pregnant people that do this. It's like crazy how many people have gone into 15-star qual while pregnant. But it was like, I want to do this now. I want to get it going. I want to get through this and enjoy my hard work and sit back a little bit and give myself some of that time, because at the end of the day, we own our businesses. And so it's not just like, okay, well, you get your 12 weeks or whatever maternity leave. It's hard to turn this business off. And so we have to plan for that. We have to do that ourselves. And so a lot of it took these hustle moments so that I could be in those flow moments postpartum. And I wouldn't feel bad. That's just me personally. Like, I'm someone who I need to know that I did all the things so that I can relax a little bit. And so that's how my brain worked. And I would delegate. I went into all the team pages. I went into my challenge groups. I was like, look, I'm going to be more absent. I'm going to be enjoying this time with my baby that I will not get back. I am going to be doing less calls. I'm going to be, all the things that they could expect. And then I said, hey, leaders. And this is where I gave a lot of delegation to my leaders and said, I need you. Like, I'll be there for you when you need me. I need you right now. And they were like, what can we do? How can we help? They're running team calls. They're posting extra things that we were, information we were getting from bigger corporate pages into the team page. They were taking over like you wouldn't believe. And it is great for them. I mean, it's hard to delegate. I know for me, it's really hard for me to give up control of things in my business. But it was the best thing that I've done. And it allowed for new and upcoming leaders to see and step into their roles as leaders and their power, and to see what they were capable of. And they stepped up and their businesses leveled up while I was giving them that delegation. So it was good. One of the best things that happened for me was reading Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. I always mention that there is regular Miracle Morning and there is one for network marketers. And it was so good for me because I had a baby who wasn't sleeping well, and several kids, but they were getting up early. So for me, I'm not a morning person, and this got me out of bed and working in the quiet moments before anyone in the house was awake. And I was stunned at what I could do in just 1 hour of silence. And so I started doing that. I started working my business in the early morning, or I would work it at nap time, or I would work at bedtime. Honestly, in the beginning, you're nursing a lot. And listen, you can either choose, this is what you're going to end up doing. Trust me. You're either going to end up online shopping at 3 a.m. and wondering where all the packages came from. And like 3 days later, because you were like nursing and sleeping and shopping from your phone, or you could answer some messages. So that's literally what I started to do. I would just like try to clear out my inbox a little bit. I know it sounds funny, but like that's what worked for me. And so I definitely shopped, but I also answered my inbox a little bit, got some stuff done, prepped some, like I would schedule some posts and stuff, and then I felt good about that next day. If I wanted to nap when they napped or whatever. And then I have front loaded weeks, and I still do this to this day. People will ask, how many hours do you work a week? What days do you work? I am very front loaded. So I get help at the beginning of the week. I don't have it at the end of the week. So I work a lot Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I kind of trickle off. And I'm like recognition driven and catch up day on Thursday, a little bit of catch up on Friday, but not much, and nothing on Saturday and Sundays. And that's just kind of what works for me. I do a little chaos Monday through Wednesday, and then I can just really be more present the other days. So finding your flow of like what your days or your weeks are going to look like. Some days might be crazy. Some days might have minimal work. But that's what we're here for. That's why we are running this kind of business, so that we can choose what those hours look like for ourselves. The important part is to remember, you don't stop working your business. You don't stop moving your business forward. You don't stop with the consistent things just because a life event is happening. Much like when I went through anxiety and depression, like deep in it in 2017, you show up. That was a life event. That was hard for me, but I just showed up a little bit, and I shared some of what was going on, not everything, but I was there every single day showing up, because whether I had anxiety, depression, or a baby, if I were going to a 9 to 5, they were going to expect me to be there. So I had to be there in some kind of capacity. And the most important thing for you guys to remember, and I shared this a little bit before, is that it is okay, and you should not feel guilty for wanting to be a mom and also a boss. Like, for me, I really struggled with that, because you see a lot of back and forth on social media lately, and just like a lot of what people think is okay and what's not. And what is okay and what's not is what's okay with you. And so for me, I needed this. Like, I did 6 months of just momming with nothing for myself, and I felt like a little lonely. I needed something for me outside of just being the mom. I needed something that was like, this is your thing and this is what you're successful at. And so this was that filled that hole, that void for me. And I love that could do that for me. And so I, to this day, like absolutely love the picture on the right where we were walking across the stage, and Willow, I would not recommend bringing a 6-week-old to Summit anymore, but it's a great memory to have. Sully and Willow have the same June birthday. And so when Sully was 6 weeks old, I was not at that summit, but I did it with Willow, and it's just a really cool memory to have her, like, and it just shows, like, I remember being at leadership with our third, Sully, and I was pushing the stroller back and forth and trying to take notes. And Chelsea Pearson texted me from behind, and she was like, I just want to say, this is super cool for me to watch as someone who's not a mom yet, and I think she might have been pregnant at the time, but hadn't said it. And she was like, this is just really motivating for me to see that, like, you can still do this side of you, but also do this side of you. And so I think that's so important for our followers too, who are like feeling like they're in the thick of motherhood or whatever, and like they just don't know if they could add something else. This was very fulfilling for me to have personally. Extra work, absolutely, but I needed that. Like, I wanted that kind of fulfillment. And that's pretty much all I have.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. And I think it just goes to show, like, swap out mom with anything else that we want to achieve. You know what, I know there's several driven women in their careers here, whether that be if you want to, like, I know so many people actually on the round table and stuff that do full-time day job, full-time Beachbody, and they love both equally and they won't give up either, or you know, whatever it is, if you want to travel or whatnot. I just feel like we can swap those things out with whatever fits into your story. And like, so many of the questions I think are so powerful. The question she had on her slides, you guys, of like, I wrote down one that said, why are you continuing to put your health first now? So regardless of where you're at in your life, you can answer that question for any part of your journey. If you, like, I'm looking at Sky right now, she's a crazy full-time student right now, and she's got a crazy life, right? Clinicals and whatnot. And she is choosing to say, this is why I am making this a priority. And she can share honestly from that. I think that there's just so much power in that. So I love all of those tips. Do you guys have any quick questions for her before we hop off? I think she was pretty detailed about like how she makes it all work and gets it all done. But any thoughts or questions?
I just saw this chat. Like, I didn't see any of this. Well,
It's all good.
I'm sharing the screen, so sorry about that.
So good. I don't think I see any questions.
I just think I want everybody just to remember that it's just important to show up in whatever capacity that is. So, you know, there are going to be overwhelming days. There are going to be really exhausting days. And like I said, if there's needs to be certain like front loaded days, like really days when you feel really good and you tackle all the things, or your child slept really well, you're feeling good in your pregnancy or whatever, then you do it in those times. And then you step back and you just do like the little micromanaging or like the little tiny things the other days. It'll be fine. But it's just when I see people ghost, it's like, don't leave, don't stop right now. Like, this is it. Like, this is what we're building it for. Don't like go because you're pregnant, go for it because you're pregnant, you know? I don't know. So
good. And it's cool to think like what has all happened in her 8 years. Like what you said at the beginning too, of like this past year being one of the best years, especially even you said for leadership development, right? Like how many of us are sitting here like, where is my team? Where are my upcoming leaders? Just to think about that, you guys, like if you're consistent for long enough, you find those people along the way. And she's found so many succeeding in her 7th or 8th year.
I mean, and they're not even mine. Like at this point, you know, I've seen it all too. Like I have seen the ups and I have seen the downs. Like nothing will surprise me at this point, which is kind of good because I've gotten through all of this, especially as an anxious person. Okay, I've seen it all. So now I can like get myself through whatever I see. But I mean, there were moments where, you know, we had a lot of success. And then there were years where I was like, I don't really like that there's like 3 of us at this leadership event, you know, and then it was like, this is a little lonely. And then it blasts off again. It's like such ebbs and flows of the business. So you will see like really great years and you'll see okay years, but it's just that consistency of showing up. And now just seeing like I'm the great grandma of, you know, the 12-star diamond of, you know, it's like wild. And that's what you want as a leader. That's the depth in the downline that you want to see. That's when you're like, this feels good. Your own success is cool, but like, this is so good.
I love that. I mean, that's my final question, I guess. I haven't asked any, but my only and last question would be, what would you say? Because I feel like that's so relatable right now. I'm sure you've seen a little bit in the network, just it's a little different than last March when COVID kind of just exploded everything, right? So how would you encourage people who might be having one of those years where it feels like, okay, I'm looking at my downline, I'm rebuilding a little bit this year. What do you do in those seasons when it's just an okay year?
First of all, you show up. You always show up. You continue to recruit, because what happens is if you rely on those couple who got you to where you are, those are not going to be the ones that will keep you there. You will have some that stick, but there are so many that are going to come and go. You will find your lifers for sure, but the same people that got you to, people that got me to Superstar Diamond are not all the same. I definitely have a ton who are still there, but I have a lot who are just not there. Like it was like they just stopped working their business when something got hard. And what I ended up seeing a lot of was they would try to see what was greener on the other side. And now they're like bouncing all over the map and they're everywhere and they're not having success anywhere because they're just trying to find this like instant get rich quick kind of situation. And so it was important for me to create community. What I noticed is when the community ran deep and when everybody felt like a part of something, everybody wanted to stay together and everybody wanted to stick together and build each other up in the hard times. And so what I did in the harder times was lean into the ones that were giving the same energy that I wanted to me. Like I was giving you a certain energy, I want that in return. And I surrounded myself, it's true, you surround yourself with who you want to become. And I just surrounded myself with the ones who were excited about the business. And there were, in the harder years, there were ones who were up and coming who had no idea what struggles I was going through with my business. And they were excited about the business. And I dove in with those people. And those are the ones who were the premiers now and the elites and the whatever. And now they're creating that in their downlines. And so just creating that like tribe and community. And like this year was the first year that we did a full, instead of just a diamond retreat, I did like a team wide. They had to hit certain goals if they weren't my PS to come. And that was really cool to give, to have that conversation because there's several who are kind of like little lone wolves, like, inside dead leg, nobody's working the business and they're 10 stars and it's just crazy. So to continue to work with those people, even though they're not your PS coaches, and creating that tribe, even within the ones that aren't personally sponsored, was just super important, I think.
I love that. Such good advice. I wrote it all down. I'm so excited. Okay, I think that's all we have. Thank you so much.